Hi everyone, welcome to Starsight. Today we are going to explore what kind of intelligence have you brought to this realm. There are so many of us who have such alien forms of intelligence, or at least unrecognizable in relation to the conventional paradigms around us. The social version of this is neurodivergent people, how their intelligence is not recognized, and that misrecognition creates so much harm. So this reading is not about flattering ourselves, but actually helping us recognize our particular brand of intelligence so that we can express it more solidly, that we can work on understanding it better and letting it unfurl and letting it lead the way. So pick your pile. If you need more time, please pause the video, and for those of you who are ready, we'll start. All right, so this first pile, buddhi. Now, even these cards on the top that are upturned, I don't select them. I shuffle the cards and let 3 cards come out. Buddhi, it's totally on point because buddhi in a lot of Indian languages simply means intelligence, especially in spoken. At the spoken level, buddhi means intelligence. Don't you have buddhi, which means don't you have intelligence. But in this deck, buddhi is not about regular mental intelligence. It's actually about the higher mind. So it is a level of intelligence that we unlock when we understand the limits of the regular mind or the conscious mind. Now, what the conscious mind does is that it throws up all the possibilities into the air. This also, that also. It is not able to evaluate the different possibilities on the basis of soul truth. The mind is more about just whatever is possible in the world, because the mind has the task, the evolutionary task of keeping us safe, of keeping our bodies safe. And so the mind knows really well how to run through the various possibilities and control them and how to exhaust them. But the higher mind has no interest in controlling reality. The higher mind wants to be able to see reality from the perspective of the soul, from the perspective that is somewhat transcendental. So it's not about just studying things as they are here right now, but also what role they play in the larger picture. So let's say that if you've had a breakup, the mind would say, shit, a horrible thing happened. But the higher mind would be able to see that, okay, this horrible thing happened. This is what it unlocked within me. This is what I understood through that horrible breakup. And here is how I'm going to end up in a better relationship because of the horribleness of this breakup. Now, of course, all bad things that happen to us are not always so neatly tieable to lessons. Like if someone has been violated or you've undergone physical violence at the hands of others, I wouldn't say, let's think about what you learned from it. Not at all. But it's just an example of how the higher mind would be able to look at situations, look at the things that have happened to us from a completely different point of view. So even for someone who's undergone physical violence at the hands of others, the higher mind would still be able to offer a perspective that is different from our conscious mind. Now, I know that this reading is about what you're bringing to the realm, but I feel like this is more your task in this incarnation, that you have to understand the difference between your conscious mind and its traps, also its goodness. Yeah, it's not all bad. It's just about knowing when enough's enough, knowing what the place of the mind should be in our lives. So I feel like you've come into this incarnation with this spiritual task of activating your higher mind in a daily on a daily level, on an everyday level, that you're not just accessing your higher mind when you're sitting and writing in your journal or when you're meditating. You're accessing your higher mind every day, all the time. Like small things. What do I eat today? Sorry about that. So I was saying, accessing the higher mind just in a really everyday way. So this person is looking very relaxed. They have a smile on their face. It's possible that you have anxiety in this lifetime, that you have some mental health disturbance in this lifetime, and as you deal with it, you will activate this higher mind. So if you're already doing something for your mental health, I would suggest to start looking at the treatment as a path, not just to take care of your mental health issues, but as a spiritual path in itself. Right. So let's see what this intelligence is. Transformation. New blueprints, yeah. And trust your innocence. I'm just tuning into your energy. Just give me a second. Yeah, I definitely think that there is some mental health disturbance or mental health issue in this lifetime. It can be anything from a proper diagnosis, proper defined disease, to more nebulous mental health issues like having anxiety from time to time or having periods of depression. You are guided to see it not as a lack within you, but a sign of something within you trying to express itself. Now, I'm not at all saying that abandon your treatment or stop taking your medicines, stop doing the things that you must be doing to take care of yourself. Please continue with those things. But we have in our world a really unfortunate way of dealing with mental health, as if, there is one particular standard of good mental health and everything else, you have to correct it, and you have to balance it, and you have to bring it to levels of conventional functioning. Now, a lot of us who are not functional in the conventional sense, or not highly functional, are actually much healthier mentally, because they need to take the time every day to ground themselves. They cannot keep doing meaningless stuff day in and day out, and so by necessity they end up taking care of themselves and their mental health, and be in careers, be in jobs, be in relationships that don't suck the soul out of them. So having a mental health problem does not just mean there's something wrong with you that you need to correct. It could mean a bunch of different things, and you're guided to understand have this spiritual perspective about your mental health issue, that it's there could be an imbalance, but there's also something within you trying to express itself. Maybe there's a deeper need for quiet, there is a deeper need for peace, there is a need within you that is about a different kind of life than the one you're living. For some people, mental health issues are there from the very beginning, so to say, but for many others, they start asserting themselves after going through a period of difficulty or after actually unlocking a period of success. So depending on when your mental health issues started coming up, there may be clues there for you to understand, okay, what is it that my body, my mind is trying to express? My understanding from these cards is that there is a lot of conditioning in your field. Your innocence has been sort of suppressed, and by conditioning I just mean like a lot of learned visions for what life should be, for what health should be, for what your day should look like, what kinds of things you should aim for, what kinds of things you should achieve. And that conditioning, you've had to pay a heavy cost for that conditioning. So you've had to sacrifice really important parts of yourself. I know someone who was an excellent writer, but their parents were pretty certain that writing is not going to provide enough money for them. Not for them as in the parents, but for the writer themselves, that it's not going to be good for them financially. And this person, they could not stand that insecurity. It was really hard for them, and so they abandoned their writerliness completely, and currently they have a very high paying job in finance, and their physical health is in shambles, and they keep trying to go to these retreats and keep trying to change their diet and stuff like that. But to me, it feels like the body is expressing the grief of not being able to express its creative energy, that the body is saying, this is not a life that I want to live. Okay, so of course they could have heart issues, they could have sugar issues, and they should take care of that. But this underlying spiritual issue of their creative energy just being stifled and not having any avenue to express it, that deeper cause, if that's not addressed, then they'll keep managing their sugar and they'll keep managing their heart, but the root cause here, the root energetic cause here, it's going to remain where it is. I want to remind you that I'm not a doctor or a psychologist. I am channeling messages from spirit guides. And so if you feel like this is not something that's helping you understand yourself, this is not something that feels solid information that you can work with, please feel free to discard it, right? Feel free to go with what you feel is a better approach for your health. So I want to come back to these cards. Whatever your mental health issue is, your guides are encouraging you to activate a spiritual perspective here. When you think about your mental health, what do you think is getting stifled within you? What could your mental health be a sign of? Something within you trying to express itself. As you uncover, one layer of the root cause and then another, you'll find a lot of peace entering your life, But I think also that it's going to require you to see yourself and your life in a completely new way. So it could lead you to want to make career changes, relationship changes, major changes that you may feel I'm not ready for. You may feel afraid of those changes. So take your time with this process. Work with someone if you're feeling like I can't do this alone. There are many therapists who have this kind of an approach. There are many coaches who have this kind of an approach, healers. So go find someone who can, midwife this process for you a little bit if you're feeling afraid, if you're feeling scared. There is so much, there is so much unfurling here that hasn't yet happened. Unfurling of your mental energy. Right now, your mental energy feels like it's in a loop, and so you could definitely be having anxiety. But your higher mind is ready to step in and to rescue you from those loops. This is partly due to conditioning, that you've been taught to see everything in a very narrow way, here and now. Like that writer person I know who evaluated their situation only in terms of, will I get money or not? Money is important to be happy. Will I be secure or not? But they weren't able to think that it's actually really practical to think about your emotional happiness also, because no amount of money is going to get you that. And if you're emotionally not okay, then you're going to spend all of that money on your health. You're going to lose all of that money for other reasons. So it's very practical to think about the emotional body, but at the time when they made the decision, they thought they were taking a practical decision over an emotional one. But they were seeing the word practical, or they were understanding practicality in an extremely narrow way. And so that's what's happening with you, that your mind is functioning right now with a very narrow set of parameters, whereas the higher mind will activate a much wider and deeper view of what you're going through. Right. So let's see what's blocking you from expressing this intelligence. The Ace of Wands, the Palace of Cups in reverse, and the Five of Pentacles in reverse. There is something within you that also enjoys this loopy mind. So maybe you are in a profession where that loopy mind serves you in some way, or maybe you are in relationships, or you're around people who adore that about you, who love that about you. There is a way in which this kind of very narrow, practical mind serves you well. Like you have probably picked a profession where this hyper focus on the here and now, that's your field of expertise. And for a long time, it brought you joy and it brought you purpose. It brought you joy and it brought you purpose. Made you feel powerful. Made you feel like you were alive, doing something that really mattered. But underneath that recognition, that joy, there was also a lot of suffering. And this could be confusing you. This could be a point of confusion right now in your life. That, I really used to enjoy this job. I enjoyed it for years. Why am I now feeling anxious about it? Why do I hate going to work these days? I used to love it. So your guides are coming in to say that, your love for this work was also built on sacrificing big parts of you, the parts of you that sought the divine, that sought the big picture of living itself, and the parts of you that were starved of love or were taught that, you have to be successful in order to be loved. And you were really scared of that, losing control over the conditions of your security. Yeah, this really feels like a work thing, that you've picked a career that is served by the lower mind, so to speak, the practical, narrow mind. And now you are at a particular juncture of your life when the higher mind wants to step in. The higher mind wants to say enough. And that's hard for you because there were real attachments here with whatever this was, with whatever that brought you joy. It was a whole way of life that you are afraid to just move away from, because this also feels really unknown. The higher mind also feels like, what is that? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to function? And one thing you may need to hear right now, pile 1, is you need to take baby steps, right? So if, for example, right now you're feeling really terrible about going to work, start considering reducing your role a little bit or getting another job. Like for now, just take that step. See how that makes you feel. When that's done, if that's done and you're feeling good, then the next step will appear in front of you. So you don't have to map out your whole life right now. That is in part the definition of the higher mind. You don't have to control what comes next. You can just follow the promptings of the soul in the present moment. Let's see how you can express this intelligence better. Oceans, bravery, and darkness, the moon. Both of these cards are about the emotional body. The moon and oceans, and also the moon rules the oceans, right? The tides respond to the gravity of the moon. I feel like this is saying that you need to subvert the hierarchy here. So far in your life, your mind has been leading the way, and now let something else lead the way. It could be intuition, it could be emotion, it could be love, it could be the body. To me, all of these are just, they're not synonyms, but they're related in the sense that they're all parts of accessing ourselves that are not anchored in cognitive, rational thinking, but are anchored in feelings that emerge in the moment. It's not about impulsiveness though. It's really having enough quiet space in ourselves to have an authentic feeling emerge, not an impulse that is more fight or flight. So a lot of impulsiveness arises from the fight or flight instinct, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having enough empty space within, quiet space within, where our minds can retreat so that something else within us can speak. Your mind has been very loud within you. It has been the only voice possibly. And now the possibility of other voices, maybe your inner child, maybe your emotional body, the intuitive body, your guides, your soul, your higher self, all different kinds of voices now want to emerge. See some final pieces here. Sub rosa, hidden in plain sight, mysteries, learning and teaching. Release the petals, transformation, death and rebirth, shedding, all change. We have transformation, repeat. This was a card that we saw earlier too. It would be really helpful, pile 1, to actually work with someone or learn like a new modality of being in the body. So it can be yoga, it can be learning to channel Reiki through your body, it can be meditation, anything that you are drawn to. But I think it will really help for you to learn something practical in terms of how to quiet the mind. That could really help you right now. I feel like this is just confirming the message that came through earlier, which is that when you do this, you're going to be led on a path of a lot of big changes, massive changes. You could really not want to continue in the career that you are in the relationships that you're in, where you live. Maybe it's too noisy and you need quiet now. Just something within you is going to start changing profoundly, and this transformation can take years to complete. It's a big one. It's a big one. But I feel like something within you is clamoring for it, is asking for it. This is one of those situations where something inside you is so tired of your current life that it's refusing to cooperate with you. So you could be falling sick a lot. You may be having anxiety, as we were saying. You could have a lot of dread about going into your office, into your workplace. Yeah, it feels very much like time's up. Something in you is seeking major change. And the path towards that change is through learning to have a different relationship with your mind, learning to harness your mental energy in a different way. So I'll repeat this once again, pile 1. Learning something practical from someone else in terms of how to quiet the mind could really give you a head start here, could really help you start doing the work that your guides and your soul and your higher self all want you to do right now. All right, pile 1, that's your message. Sending you love. Muladhara. This is the root chakra. Okay. I didn't pick this card myself like all the other cards. I shuffled the deck and waited for 3 cards to come out. But this is so on point in terms of our question that we are exploring today, which is what kind of intelligence do you bring to this realm? And you bring the intelligence of the root chakra to this realm. Now, what is this energy? What is this intelligence? It is a decidedly non-intellectual intelligence. It is very practical, very hands-on. So you may not know how to do something, but when you hold it in your hand, your hands just start moving in the right direction. You just know what to do when you're actually interacting with the material substances. whatever line of work you've chosen could be very hands-on, very practical. And in our world there is a lot of devaluation of practical work. Like some of the hardest jobs on earth are carrying weight and working in the sun for 12 hours and lifting really difficult materials in construction. And all of those jobs are the most undercompensated, or jobs that are about 15 hours of labor, even 8 hours of labor, physical labor. Again, those jobs are some of the most undercompensated. Whereas intellectual jobs for 4 hours, you would get more than someone would get for a month of physical labor. And so you might have had to deal with this hierarchy, this bullshit in your life, where whatever you are good at may not be generating as much revenue as someone else who was working less than you, but who was working at a different level, with a different kind of intelligence. So our purpose here is not to devalue other forms of intelligence and hold this up, but to say that all of these different kinds of intelligences are valuable and are necessary for the world to function the way that it functions. You, however, I feel like this might be a very real possibility that your intelligence has been devalued in the world, but you come across as a very secure person. Whoever has a root chakra balanced, they are very rooted. They know what is essential and what is not, what is important and what is not. And I think this is why other people's devaluation might not have fazed you at all, because you saw the value of the life that you were living. You understood how much pleasure and meaning it brought you to do the work that you did, or to exercise your intelligence the way you do. And so other people's opinions, they feel really insignificant. You feel really rooted in who you are and what your value is, both to yourself and to the world that possibly devalues you. You could have been this kind of a very secure child, even surprising your parents, listening to their opinions but not taking them to heart, being very self-made. You are a very, very self-made person, Pile 2. Now, if this doesn't resonate for you so far, this might not be the pile for you, because this feels like such strong, clear energy to me that this is a self-made person, very secure in themselves and in what they bring to the world. So let's see more about your intelligence. Wow, solar plexus. There are 2 chakras on the table. The infinite and life force energy. I love this. This is likely just going to be a confirmation for you, Pile 2. This reading is a confirmation rather than you learning something new, because you are so tapped into your intelligence and your authentic energy. You're absolutely, this is very rare. This is very rare to be this level of authentic. And not just authenticity in how you operate in the world or how you deal with others, but with yourself. You have managed to do this very difficult work of connecting your root to your solar plexus. Now, the root is where, again, the root of all things, right? If the roots are strong, then the tree is going to mostly grow strong. We also have trees here, by the way, in all these 3 cards. Beautiful confirmation. So the root chakra, when it is balanced, it really makes it possible for the individual to approach problems and approach goals in a balanced way. So where panic is required, you panic. Where anxiety is required, you're anxious. But where calm is required, you're calm. It's not that panic and anxiety are bad. They are also useful emotions. Like if a predator is in your midst, it's good to have panic so that you'll have enough adrenaline pumping through your veins to get you to run faster than usual. So panic by itself is not bad. Calm by itself is not always good. If you're calm in the face of a predator, you're not going to be able to run. So by itself is nothing is good or bad. It's about appropriateness, and it's also about quantity, excess and balance. And you understand this. You understand this, which is why you are able to translate your balanced root chakra energy into a solid solar plexus chakra. This is the third chakra in our system. The root is the first, and this is the third chakra in our system that is in charge of acting. That is the seat of the inner masculine. This chakra, if this is balanced, it signifies a capacity to act in the right way without ego. To go for success and achievement, but not in a crazed way, but again, in a way that serves your soul evolution. It's also about you knowing what goals are worth your energy and what goals are not worth your energy. I see here a person who's really not fazed by other people's opinions. I know I've said this, but it's just coming through so strongly. Not fazed at all by other people's opinions and feeling very comfortable, confident in your own skin to do whatever it is that you need to do. And though we have the card of the infinite here, I feel like what's amazing about you is that you don't reach for the infinite. You reach for simple goals. It's not about, okay, I'm going to create a Fortune 500 company. It's about, I'm going to create a 5-person company that pays all of us really well, that makes us all happy, and we're in sync with each other, and we're doing work that gets us, meeting really interesting people and doing things that just get us all to grow and develop in ways of our choosing. But then because that 5-person company is doing so well, it will become in its own time a 10-person company, a 15-person company. The growth, the infinite growth is unlocked by you not being attached to any kind of big grand vision. You're attached to simple goals. I want to be happy. You're attached to goals that for other people could feel really humble, not ambitious at all. But in a spiritual sense, your goals are the ultimate ambition. Your goals of happiness or peace or balance, that's exactly what is so hard to unlock within us. That's exactly what is something that most people spend lifetimes not experiencing or not even knowing that it is available to them. This is all just coming through as, it doesn't feel like guidance at all. It feels just like descriptions of you, and it's amazing. So another thing that's coming through is that you know when to be alone, and you know when to be with others. You could be quite restrained with others until they have your heart. Once they're part of your inner circle, then there's no holding back. Then you give to them in any way that you can. But it takes time for people to make that cut. And that's a good thing, right? Because yeah, the kind of balance that you've cultivated, you don't want other people to tank it. But I feel also that because of that balance, it's not just a preventive measure, because of that balance, you need relationships to proceed gradually. You need them to proceed in a way that is again rooted and grounded. Acts of service could be your love language. Let's see if there's anything at all that is blocking a better expression of this intelligence. I don't think so. Well, let's see. Death, Chariot in reverse, Eight of Cups in reverse. Okay. There is an instance in your life, pile 2, where you could have felt very abandoned. And you could have spent a lot of time waiting for this abandonment to reverse itself. So if it was a relationship, maybe you waited for this person for a long time. Or if it was a parent, you tried again and again to establish a relationship with them. There is a relationship, it feels like there's an attachment in your life where you have acted in a way that is uncharacteristic for you. So you've acted in a way that is not confident, not self-made, not rooted, not balanced, but more, I feel like this is your word, not the guides, more in a needy way. And I think that you have a lot of shame around it. Shame around not being balanced, shame around feeling needy, shame around not being able to approach this situation like you would other situations in your life. Something of this attachment has really broken your heart. And it feels like it's in the past, so you could have gotten over the broken heart, but I don't think you've gotten over what you witnessed of yourself in the wake of the broken heart. So the way you acted, you could now feel that you really so, what is the phrase? You sold yourself short, is that correct? Like you acted in a way that now feels humiliating. Maybe then too, that you shouldn't have minimized your self-worth. Another line that is coming to me is accepting the love that you thought you deserved. So for some reason, with this particular attachment, they were not treating you the way that you would generally want anyone else to treat you. Like you would immediately call other people out or distance yourself from them. But for some reason, you didn't do that in this relationship with this person or in this situation. And you're ashamed of it. And what you have to understand, part 2, is just, it's being balanced does not mean that we should not experience imbalance, right? Balance is the capacity to keep coming back to it. It's not a static state. It is the capacity to keep returning to it. It's about moving. It's about being able to move. When you're feeling imbalanced, to move towards balance. I think that it's not that you sold yourself short in the past. You're probably doing that right now to yourself. when you think, I shouldn't have done that. Why not? No? There was some wounding happened in this relationship, and you're allowed to not know what to do with it. You're allowed to act in a way that feels uncharacteristic. You're allowed to need in a way that feels unhinged or imbalanced. That does not mean that you're any less of a person. It's okay to have lost your sense of self for a bit. That's not a problem at all. The fact is that you came back to yourself. The fact is that you're okay. It's so far away in the past. In fact, if you approach this situation with this allowance in mind, like, yeah, it's okay that I wasn't feeling good at the time. It's okay that I was asking a lot more than I would usually ask for, or I was staying in a situation I would never stay in. I should have never stayed in. The mistakes that you made, if you approach them now with the allowance of it's okay to have made mistakes, or I'm allowed to make mistakes, you might actually see that situation in a whole new way. You might see the role that it played in getting to a better state of balance, getting you to a better level of confidence, a more deeper dimension of peace. Yeah, you really need to give yourself some space to have been the person that you were at the time in that relationship, and understand that this might happen again, that there are going to be times in your life where you will act in a way that is uncharacteristic or different than your self-image. It doesn't mean that your self-image is incorrect. It just means that we contain multitudes. And also there are so many parts of us that are not available to us, that are unconscious, or that belong to the soul in a way that we haven't been able to access them yet, or things that we are not able to say to ourselves. That's a pretty normal, natural human psyche. And so this might even happen again, that you act in a way that you don't quite admire or are not able to respect, but that is part of being in a good relationship with yourself, right? This is really the next level of your balance and of your rootedness, to understand that you can be many things that you don't understand. I'm imagining a tree. Everything's good, the roots are great, the trunk is great, the branches are great. But then one of the branches is just growing in a very strange direction. It's growing downwards instead of upwards, or it is growing all twisted instead of clear and linear. It's still growth, right? It's still growth. And this situation, that was growth too. That was you too. You don't have to be recognizable to yourself all the time, Paito. I mean, you do a fantastic job of it. But the days that you don't, those are welcome too. Let's see how you can express your intelligence better, or what you can do about the shame you feel. Speaking your word, voice. Look at this person expressing themselves, expressing all of themselves, and change the wind. Both of these figures are almost like mid-dance, yeah? And this is what you have to understand about this earlier situation about living itself, that we are all dancing all the time. Even with your rootedness, you can be dancing, pile 2. When you arrest the possibility of making a mistake, of being someone that you don't recognize, you're also arresting possibilities of being other selves that you can recognize, the possibility of growing in ways that you can't yet imagine. So don't take away that right of making mistakes from yourself. In fact, let it be like a storm, like a fairy tale, like an adventure tale where you go off into realms that you haven't yet explored. And this can be hard for people who have strong root chakra energy. They're so rooted like a tree, right? A tree cannot travel. That's what we know at this stage of human evolution anyway. I won't be surprised if in 100 years we discover that trees can travel. But at this time, anyway, the scientific consensus is that trees don't move. And you may be like that. It may be hard for you to imagine big level change because you're doing so well where you are. But some of these mistakes are like journeys into the unknown, where you end up in realms that you would never otherwise visit, and you end up activating a whole new part of yourself. And that's not a bad thing, pile 2. It's not a bad thing at all. I think also that talking to someone might help you at this time. Could be a loved one, could be the person involved in that situation, just could be you just writing in your journal, could be a therapist, anyone. But I think just expressing yourself to someone might help you, might bring you some relief and validation from others. It might be something that you're not very good at, asking for help or sharing your emotions with others. I love how you guys structured this. First, it was like a lot of praise, a lot of validation, and then you're like, this is what you need to do, this is what you're not doing, this is what you need to do. I'm just joking. None of this feels like criticism. It just feels like a really loving hug from your guides to you, pile 2. You're doing so beautifully in this lifetime, but they're showing you how you can make it easier on yourself. Couple final messages. The return, a new story. You decide. Alignment. It's coming together. The mystic rose, compassion, devotion, humility, yes, humanity, and grace. Grace. You need to give yourself some grace, pile 2. Now I want to cry. You've been so hard on yourself for how you behaved in the past. It's not necessary at all. You can be soft with yourself and forgiving and kind and merciful, and you're still going to be the same person who is excellent and fantastic. I think this return, the word return to me is not about that person or that situation returning in your life, but you just returning to that situation and activating a whole new narrative around it. It's no longer about how you let yourself down, but it's about how there were parts of you that you were surprised by, or emotional needs within you that express themselves in ways that you couldn't control. So a whole new narrative around that older situation that is not rooted in shaming yourself or not rooted in your self-image, but more open-hearted. Listening to that self. How are you feeling at that time? If you acted in this way, you must be suffering so deeply. So listen to the voice of that suffering. Not the voice that is shaming you, but the voice that is suffering in that moment. And you may unlock a whole new level of devotion to yourself, but also humility. Humility. We are so many things that we are not in charge of, that are going to express themselves in all kinds of unwieldy ways. Our job is to witness ourselves. Our job is to hold ourselves in love no matter what we end up doing. I mean, of course, I'm not advocating harming others and etc., but I don't think that's the tone here at all. All right, Pile 2, this is your message. I'm sending you so much love and hoping that whatever this has been is going to allow you to access a whole new dimension of love for your own self. Pile 3, dhumavati. So what I do before a reading is that I shuffle a bunch of decks and I draw cards for each of the pile. I don't see them. And then I draw one card that's going to be upturned, facing forwards. And those cards also, I don't pick them myself. I just shuffle and let the guides drop cards or show me cards that are what you need. Yeah, but with all the 3 piles, these face up, what is the word, these upturned cards. Sorry, I've been talking for 55 minutes and my brain is slightly lost. Yeah, so I was saying that with all these 3 piles, the cards that have been facing upwards have been so on point. So here too, Dhumavati is a goddess who helps you let go, who helps you release, who helps you understand what is already dead and how you are keeping it alive in vain. So how you're keeping it alive in a superficial way or in ways that are about appearance or attachment, but at the core of it, something has died. And that's what Dhumavati assists us with. Look at these crows. Crows perching on her chariot. Crows are typically birds that eat dead flesh, right? That's what Dhumavati really helps with. And so the sight of Dhumavati can be hard to witness because so much of the death that she helps us clear, she also, embodies it. But there's also a lot of compassion on her face. There's no, her appearance, her form is not powerful and beefy and self-sure. It's more suffering and compassionate and saying, let me help you do the difficult work. This is an extremely compassionate energy here. So I feel that your intelligence, pile 3, is you have a very strong intuitive body that just knows when something is done, when something has ended. That is the strongest form of intelligence that you've come into this lifetime with. You could be excellent at giving advice to others about, you need to end this relationship, it's already done, you need to move from this job, you need to stop talking to your mother. You have a keen sense of what is dead and what is alive. And this is a terrifying power because most people want to come to those judgments on the basis of rational processing. I have never understood how people can decide whether they want to get married to someone based on pros and con lists, but people do that. They make really important decisions based on rational processing. Whereas you just have a spidey sense within you, very active, very alive, saying, this is alive, this is dead. It's not a predictive power as much as it's a descriptive diagnostic power. You just know what stage of evolution something is in when you see it. But I think that this has been very judged and maligned and suppressed by others in your life, so much so that you could have internalized that fear of this capacity. So you could be a person who gives the best advice to everyone else, but when it comes to your intuition about what's working in your life, what's dead in your life, you could be a person who doesn't listen to that intuition. You could be a person who has a lot of trouble letting go of things. You could be a person that has a lot of trouble accepting that something that was very alive in your life at some point is now dead. I feel like this pile here, this message here, is going to be your guides saying to you, you need to abide by this intelligence that you possess. Now, if so far this reading has not resonated for you, it may not be for you. Okay? This is really someone who has this shadow intelligence in heaps. So if so far this doesn't resonate for you, it may not be for you. Surrender. One thing before I open the other cards, I think one thing that other people might say to you also is that you have a black tongue. I don't know if that's a phrase that you're familiar with. So I am in my mother tongue. A black tongue means that when you say something negative, it manifests. So you could be saying something like, oh, this relationship is already dead, and then it dies. Or you look at a piece of fruit and say, this is going to be really rotten or bitter, and then when you break it open, it really is. And the superstition in my culture is that there are some people who have this kind of black tongue where they're not just describing something that is dead or rotten, but when they say it, they almost make it happen. So whatever they say ends up like an order to the universe, like a decree, and then it comes to pass. Now, you could have been shamed, or you could have inspired this kind of terror in others, where you were simply describing something that other people couldn't yet see. You could see that the marriage in this particular marriage in your family was dead, but no one could see it, not even the people in that marriage. And so when you said it, this is dead, people could have thought you made it happen, you willed it into existence. And that's not true at all, pile 3. You were simply describing it. And so the first bit of guidance for you is that if you are terrified of this capacity, you really need to do some deep introspective work and free yourself from this fear. Why do you fear it? The thing is that everyone, like people in general, they're so afraid of death, whereas death is nourishing. Without death, we do not have life. But people have such a fear of death that they project it on anything that remotely evokes death. So when you diagnose death around you, people project their fear on your capacities. So they're shooting the messenger, and you don't need to take that. Yeah. All right, look at the cards here. Surrender, lumen essence, and alignment. Excellent, excellent. So, first message here, pretty straightforward. You need to surrender to your intelligence. Listen to it, pile 3, especially when it comes to your life. I mean, other people, whether they listen to you or not, important, but not really. Here, at least for the sake of this message, your guides are coming in to say, please listen to yourself. Please do what your gut is asking you to do. Something is dead. Let go. Surrender. I feel like you're not even afraid of letting go of things by themselves because you know they're dead, right? You're not afraid of that, but you're afraid of what this is going to mean about you. Shit, how did I know that? How did I know that I was supposed to end this? And there's also a little bit of indifference that could come up when you see something that's dead. So let's say that you've been in a marriage, loving marriage, for 15 years, and one day you wake up and you know it's dead. And you know there's a little bit of neutrality and indifference that rises within you because it's a form of acceptance, right? It's not indifference in the sense of I don't care about you. It's not indifference in the sense of now you're shit to me. It's indifference in the sense of you just understand the finality of it. Something in you accepts it so deeply. And so you're not afraid of letting go, but you're afraid of how other people are going to interpret this neutrality and acceptance. And again, this could have happened in the past where you were very straightforward about saying it's not going to work anymore, and the other person was deeply hurt by your tone or deeply hurt by the acceptance in your mind. Lumen essence. Yeah, it really feels like something has come in the way between you and your self-love, that you haven't been able to experience love for this incredible, pile 3, incredible intelligence within you. You haven't been able to feel good about it. You haven't been able to draw authentic inner power from it, but it is your superpower. And if you do not embrace it, you are not going to be able to feel that inner power in any other way, because this is it. There could be a fair bit of inauthenticity in your personality. So you may be a person who, again, is very clear-headed, but often compensates for that clarity that appears as indifference to others by being overly affectionate or acting like you feel a lot more emotions than you actually do. This feels like a very quiet, very peaceful person who's not overly emotional, but you could feel like that's what's required of you, especially if you have been socialized as a feminine person in the world. You need to let go of all of that, pile 3. You need to embrace your coldness. It's not even coldness, but even if it appears like that to others, you need to embrace it. It's your superpower. It's your clarity. Alignment with yourself. This is not about others. Because when you do that, when you really embrace how you're actually feeling, not what you think you're supposed to feel for others, you will activate your true emotional body. And it can be anything, right? It can be very loving, but it's okay if it's not. It's okay if you don't love people to death. That's just who you are. There is no set paradigm here about how loving or how emotional we should all be. You can forge your own standard and path here, pile 3. Let's see what else, or what, like a little bit more about what's blocking the expression of this intelligence. Yeah. Oof. You are the Queen of Swords, absolutely. Just, oh, the Queen of Swords is also the Lady of Justice, who can just see things for what they are. You are, you are, you have this rare access to truth as it is. Truth. But you've been told, pile 3, that means that you won't have a loving relationship. You can't just keep telling the truth all the time. You have to say it in a way that the other person can hear you. You have to be tactful. This is all a bunch of bullshit that you can let go of, pile 3. You simply need relationships where other people can match your truth-telling capacity with their capacity to hear it. You don't need to change, and especially you don't need to compromise your inner power to be in relationships with others that, as it is, don't speak or don't see your real authenticity. I really strongly feel that this is so deep within you, this has been embedded so deep within you that you can either be yourself, your truthful, simple self that just says things, this is what I see, and the self that seeks love, and you've been told that they are incompatible. And it is not true at all. It is not true at all. In fact, when you start embodying more of your Queen of Swords energy, more truthfulness, more authenticity, more simplicity in how you deliver your judgments, you will find that there are people who are attracted especially to that they have been looking for you too. It's not just you yearning for that kind of a relationship. Other people are looking for you too, pile 3. You also need work where you can put that truthfulness to use. If you are in a career where, again, you have to lie or mask your truthful nature under, like a guise of pleasantry, it's not going to work for you. It's such a waste. You have such a power. Let's see how you can express this power better. Purity, ice, exactly. Groundedness, gravity. I love this. So purity, ice feels very clear to me. You have access to pure truth, which is in itself, it's very rare. But something that can help you right now, pile 3, is to be really practical about it. If you keep stifling yourself, do you think that you're going to be able to continue? There's going to be a time when the volcano is going to burst. There's going to be a time when you're going to want, like in those movies, to commit a murder in cold blood and just walk away. Like, this is not sustainable, what you're doing. Hiding yourself, keeping yourself bound to conventions of emotionality, conventions of, pleasantness. This is not going to serve you. This is ultimately going to turn on its head and create much more damage than truth could ever create. So you need to really think about this practically. If you cannot bring yourself to accept who you are, think practically. If I don't do this, if I don't let my true self shine forth, I am going to end up in situations that are just terrible. Situations where I am going to want to kill someone. Maybe not literally, but you know what I mean, right? Like, if you're going to be in situations where there's injustice and you don't say it, if you're going to be in situations for years and years that are dead and you don't say it, one day it's going to explode out of you. You don't want that. Be grounded in this moment. Understand that you accepting who you are, it's the most practical approach you can take at this moment to your life. It's not idealistic, it's not spiritual even, it is practical. Whatever you're doing right now, not sustainable. And last couple of messages. Trust the seasons. We are nature, becoming grounded, embodiment, living in connection. I feel like this is saying to you, pile 3, you will absolutely find the relationships and the connections you need that do not expect you to hide your superpower, that do not expect you to mince your words, that do not expect you to appear to be a harmless thing. You are not. You are powerful and you are insane and you are intelligent to the point of being a genius, and you have the power of the shadow goddesses at your fingertips who know what is dead. You don't want to give that up. You don't want to give that away in the name of superficial cultural paradigms that cannot recognize this kind of intelligence, simply because they're scared of death. We all are. It's not about they who are stupid and we who are intelligent. It's all of us. We're all afraid, but that's what we have to learn, right? Fear is not going to go away, but we don't have to act from a place of fear. And so whatever fear of God that has been instilled within you, whatever fear of yourself has been instilled within you, it is time to let it go. Let it go, pile 3. You have an amazing form of intelligence here, and I hope that you will find it in yourself to honor it and commit to its growth and development. All right, pile 3, that's your reading. Sending you so much love and so much respect.